Have all the commissioners present had a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting, which was Tuesday, December 10th? Any changes, additions, amendments to those minutes? If not, I would take a motion to approve.
So moved.
And second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. We have, looks like just one thing on our agenda today, which I will turn over to Holly.
Thank you. So as a preliminary matter, I just wanted to note that it was brought to my attention that the description of the proposed zoning district in your materials, in your backup materials, is I-2. And the petitioner is actually asking to rezone the property to I-1. So I should have some additional documents for you. Commissioner Stewart, do you have the extra packet? Okay.
2 pieces?
Yep. So I'm not sure, Commissioner Young, do you have the extra?
Yep.
Okay. So we're good. So that should be, so the I-2 should be replaced with the I-1. And I will go through that with you. The matter at hand is a petition to rezone a property located at 2001 10th Place Northeast from RO Multifamily Office to I-1 Limited Industrial, and to amend the future land use map to reflect that change. The address actually kind of references 2 parcels, but I included the parcel ID numbers. The parcels are not currently combined. They're circled in black on this document. So there's a larger parcel to the east and a smaller parcel to the west. And they're both bound by Diamond Street to the north and I-90 to the south. The other surrounding land uses, so to the east of that parcel is, I don't know exactly what's happening with that property actually, but it's zoned residential, and then the other properties further to the east are also zoned residential. Property to the west is owned by the city, and there's a pump house on that property, so it's used for utility purposes. The petitioner wishes to sell this parcel, and he's had some interest from buyers that propose like storage type use for the property, which would require the I-1 designation versus the RO. The I-1 purpose is to create industrial areas that will be acceptable within the city and will not adversely affect adjacent businesses or residential neighborhoods by permitting industrial establishments, which are neither ones whose operations are relatively free from objectionable influences or ones whose objectionable features will be obviated by design and appropriate devices. So basically that the use wouldn't be objectionable, and if there were any issues that they would be mitigated due to the type of uses allowed. The ordinance does not allow offensive or objectionable uses by reason of odor, dust, gas fumes, noise, vibrations, refuse matters, or waste that would not be in keeping with the purpose of the district as stated above. So the allowed uses would be manufacturing without the hazardous or offensive or objectionable processes, and warehousing, storage, and wholesaling, which would apply potentially, depending on what buyer might ultimately purchase the property. Processing, bakery, catering, and our older zoning code, laundry and dyeing and cleaning works. Ice storage and distribution, minor fabrication and repair, so like a small electronic repair shop, plumbing shop, heating shop. Automotive, service, farm implements, but that would require 50-foot distance between any residential district, and then some screening would be required. Public utility stations and services, bottling works, extraction of sand and gravel, just some, let's see, and then landfill demolition waste, solid waste, processing facility, and then there's some indications about the maximum height allowed in this area and the setbacks required. If you took into consideration this shoreland zone and then the setbacks that would be required, there's not a lot of space to build. So a lot of the things that are allowed in here wouldn't technically happen in that zoning district. So unless they got a variance. So it's possible somebody could come back and ask for a variance to some of the setbacks potentially. There is an existing structure there already that's built within the buildable area.
Do we know what that structure's for? Because I drove by it and it's definitely not a house if it's.
You know, I haven't been in it, but I understood that it was an office with a storage area for like a semi-trailer.
Okay.
It's
So
just a
essentially
pole
like
shed.
like a
It's just a
garage
big
with,
pole shed.
yeah, like a pole shed, a garage with an office.
I don't even
essentially.
think it has a concrete floor. I think it's just gravel. I'm not sure.
I don't know if the whole thing, yeah, I don't know if the whole thing is, but.
Yeah, I don't think F, G, or H are even possible on that site with the state regs because of the creek being there. I don't think you can do
yeah.
anything there. It's not big enough buffer or anything.
Mhm.
And then what's the highlighted? The pink, is that flood?
The pink is the shoreline buffer area.
Okay,
So so if you look on the north side of Dobbins Creek, there's a dark pink. And that's essentially like, that's a no build area. The lighter pink is no new building, but you could get a variance potentially to build in that. It's 100-foot setback. And then there's some other requirements, like there should be some screening if it's an industrial use. So they wouldn't be able to cut down the trees or anything along the shoreline. And then the future land use categories would be changed from actually here's this shows the setbacks. Pretty good.
Yeah, that's the better one. Yeah. So basically the pink and the green is no build zone, leaving that sliver kind of in the middle
Yeah,
of the building.
I mean
zone.
barring a variance, yeah.
Right.
The future land use map would be changed to office/light industrial, which would identify an area intended for a mix of professional office, office warehouse, flex office, and light industrial use, engaged in assembling, packaging, shipping, previously manufactured components into finished goods, products, and similar businesses that provide wholesale goods and services.
Are we focusing just on one parcel, or are they both included in there?
Yeah, actually, yeah, so this line doesn't go all the way across, but both parcels were included.
Okay.
This parcel would really not be buildable at all.
Right.
I mean, I shouldn't say never, but
Tiny houses?
unlikely. I missed that, what was it?
Tiny houses.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the property
Okay.
immediately to the east is RO also currently?
That's residential, actually, I think. You had your map there, actually.
That's hard to tell.
Can I look quick?
Yeah. that's both of them or just this one.
Actually, that does include both of them. Let me look here quick.
Yeah, that's right, because the corner house would be that first residential lot then.
So everybody can see. It is zoned residential, but residential office, so this would be the property immediately to the east, which is,
RO.
Yeah, they both
oh,
are.
this parcel right here.
Okay.
Was there any
And-
feedback from the neighbors?
No, we didn't get any comments at all. I don't think anyone lives here full-time.
What is that radius for the notifications?
350 feet,
350?
yeah.
Because it looked like there's only about 5 households that would have even gotten.
Yeah,
One
there
of
weren't
which
very
has
many.
the
There-
same last name as the petitioner.
There's a list in the materials.
So is the assumption that when the land was annexed, it was brought in under RO, the most restrictive classification, so that there's some critical thinking going into making adjustments as required to change the zoning?
Yeah, I mean, normally it comes in as R1 unless it's specifically designated in the annexation. So I'm not sure if this came in as R1 and was rezoned to RO. The RO is more restrictive. It's possible that because of, there might have been some, I'm just speculating that, it's close to the interstate, so you'd think maybe a little more commercial, but there is some residential in that area. So maybe trying to balance those two things.
Sure. And in this particular case, the most practical use for the parcels in question would be to rezone, to use it as.
From my perspective, it's a kind of a difficult parcel because of the limited area that's usable or
Right.
buildable. And then there's water to the north, which could potentially be, recreational, but I believe the bank is pretty steep there, so there's no easy access
Right.
to the water. And then to the south is, of course, the interstate.
Right.
Not a lot of development on either side of that parcel. I mean, it could influence what the neighbor ends up doing with their parcel potentially at some point, but
When I drove past it right before this meeting, to the west of this parcel, you can sort of see like a tree line that so you really can't see this parcel until you come right up on it if you're coming from the west. And then to the right, there's that building that we see here, and a little bit of a turn before you start to see most houses in that little area from what I
yeah,
can
and they
tell.
wouldn't be able to remove most of those trees.
Yeah.
Some would potentially be able to be removed.
But it, honestly, I was surprised it was a buildable lot driving up on it, to be quite frank. And as you can see, between the city setbacks and the bank, 3/4 of it isn't buildable currently.
I haven't had a lot of questions about it until it just went up for sale, and then, a few questions about, what could we build here?
Yeah.
And that's what generated this document.
And I-1 is the most restrictive of the industrial ratings, right?
Yeah,
There's
yep.
3, so this is the lightest, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, so like the area where Superfresh is located, that's an I-1.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of some other. And then again, if there were vehicles or automotive sales or something like that, there'd be a greater setback
Yeah.
required.
Feels to me like it would be a greater value being rezoned for potential use as light industrial storage than it would be as residential trying to sell that property or build on that property. any other commissioners feel that way, or have points of discussion that
So this would be a
help bring some
recommendation.
clarity?
Oh, not to interrupt, but this would be a recommendation to the council to amend the future land use map and to rezone should you so will recommend approve or deny.
I mean, I sort of concur looking at this. Like I said, it's a very interesting piece of property, even combined, it's not super usable. I know whenever we look at a rezone, we always make sure that we aren't concerned with one of the many, many things that could get put on there, but the physics of it. Many of the things listed here literally just could not be built on this plot. And even then, I'm not sure I see anything here that I would be concerned with putting on a plot that's literally next to the expressway. So I don't think I have any concerns in a rezone at this point.
Unfortunately, I have a conflict with the petitioner, so I am abstaining from this discussion and vote.
Any other questions?
Well, if we're good, then I guess I would entertain a motion.
Well, let's see. I move that we recommend rezoning to the council of the two parcels in question. Given the descriptions of the two zoning classifications, it seems to be more appropriate and more valuable to the community if it's rezoned as an I-1.
And then there were some considerations included in the backup material that I didn't.
Sure, I was looking for those. I can get a well-formed motion here.
Will this affect the surrounding land use, especially the A1, the open space, the utility, the city utility area is?
Well, I mean, depends on what you mean by effect or impact. I mean,
Like,
there's a building there currently that I don't think they could build anything more really to the west. I mean, potentially there's some space to the east. So I wouldn't expect there to be any impacts. And of course, we would expect a builder to mitigate anything if, as much as possible. But again, like we've talked about many times with a rezone, anything that's allowed is allowed, but there are other factors that would restrict the opportunities available on this parcel. And then just to add, we would also need to amend the future land use map, so that could be incorporated into the motion as well. What were you gonna say?
Could you pull off that picture so we could see yeah. So to the west of this is green, which is the city. I think that's sort of the area that you're referring to, right? The green triangle a little bit, which I'm guessing based on what we just saw for the shoreline and the way that the road kind of cuts right up to the river, that is probably all unbuildable land outside of the pump house that the city has there. So I don't think anything could happen with that property to the west of this.
Yeah, correct. And it's possible that, the pump house was grandfathered in, or they may have gotten a variance or something as
Right.
well if it was needed.
Yeah, because that's got to all be floodplain. That's
Yeah, I
fine.
mean, so I don't have so it does show the floodplain marked
Yeah.
on here as well.
Yeah, that's
So
what I'm
that's
talking about.
separate, that's a separate issue from the shoreland, but the floodplain doesn't impact that parcel.
So we have a motion, correct?
I'd say partial motion.
Partial,
You could
yeah.
add the amendment to the
And-
future land.
The reason I'm saying here is the practitioner wishes to sell the parcel, so the buyer interested primarily center around light industrial uses such as office and storage. So I don't know why either of them are not present, so we could probably ask for more details.
For which,
Yeah, like this is the primary reason, right?
It's not a residence.
It's not. a
No.
residence.
oh, no, it's not a residence,
not a
sorry.
residence.
That is like a pull shed. It's, has some office space, is my understanding. I haven't been in it. And then there's space to store a semi-trailer. At this point, I don't believe it has water or sewer. It's not a living space.
The zone classification is for residential, but
But it's not, no,
not-
it hasn't been developed as residential at all.
that's what we're here to resolve.
Yeah, correct. Any other clarification?
In the I-2 description that we had, there was a section of what was prohibited in an I-2. I don't see that in the I-1, but one of the things was residential. Is that true of I-1 as well?
Correct.
But you
There's
can't-
No residential.
Once it's I-1, they
Yeah.
can't have anybody
It
living there.
would be a non-conforming use if
Right.
it existed legally prior to a
Okay.
rezone. In this instance, it doesn't exist there, so it would not be allowed.
Should I try again?
Yeah, go for
All
it.
right. I make a motion that we recommend to the council the rezone of the two parcels in question from residential to light industrial, I-1, in in following the considerations enumerated by the staff in the staff report, and to amend the future land use map accordingly.
Beautiful.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0 with one abstention.
Oh, and I should clarify, the compliment was the form of the motion.
It was an excellent motion.
I'm trying to be unbiased on the rest of it. There's nothing else that I have, so
Anything else from the commissioners? Meeting is adjourned.
Well, since all of you guys have emailed the staff data information, so if we can get your phone numbers who haven't replied already, that would be great.
oh, and then just to let you all know, we are updating our zoning and subdivision code, which, impacts everyone here.
Are we creating more, so we only have
Well, it
two or
impacts
three
everyone,
questions?
right?
Right.
But you guys will have to enforce